Now it's time for cocoa. I skipped mentioning it in the coffee video before, but it was neither a drink for the Orthodox nor the Catholics. Both of them loved wine, alcohol, and beer. Protestants wanted to stay sober. Therefore, they drank cocoa to feel more alert and sober. They were crazy about cocoa. Therefore, while coffee was very common in the Arab world, alcohol was prevalent among Catholics and Orthodox Christians, and cocoa emerged as a more national beverage for Protestants. In the reactionary context of Christianity, interestingly, chocolate, a product of cocoa, spread to Europe, from the south through Catholic Spaniards. Remember, cocoa is the name of the seeds of the fruit, which is a fruit itself, the fruit of the cocoa plant. Chocolate was made from cocoa powder, or obtained from cocoa in some way, with sugar, cinnamon, and vanilla added during that time. It gains a different taste, the name of the product that is no longer bitter. Chocolate and cocoa are different things. It began to be known in Europe since the 16th century, but when I say chocolate, don't think of it as something like they are crunching on thin tablets, because at that time, chocolate was sold in cubes, so it was in its chocolate form. The goal is to melt it. Let's melt it using the method called bain-marie and drink it. Chocolate was something that burned directly because of this. They would melt it and make a drink. As we moved north, Protestants no longer added wine to it, but Catholics began to enjoy drinking it by adding wine. The concept of hot chocolate and hot wine was well established for alcohol and chocolate. So, why did Catholics love chocolate? For a very cunning reason. Because among Catholics there is a fast during which you can only consume liquids, and the Catholics were quite clever during that time. They said that chocolate is sweet. We can mix anything into chocolate. Chocolate also provides energy. We don't consume any solid food. You didn't eat bread, meat, or anything during this fast. We can indulge in chocolate. It naturally keeps a person fuller than water, and beer made you hungry. Thus, Catholics gradually began to consume chocolate during liquid fasting, starting from Spain and Italy. It was then loved. There is also this aspect of the matter. The first port it arrived at from Mexico was Spain. The Spaniards are exploiting Mexico. The Spaniards say, rather than spending money on tea and coffee, let's have cocoa as our national drink since it comes directly to us and is easier to produce. Or we can also lose it by melting the aristocracy. But the story of how it spread from Spain to Europe is very interesting. Look, the father of general culture. In history, I told you about the Habsburg dynasty. You know how whenever you ask our teacher Ilber, he always says the Habsburgs. A woman named Anna from Austria. Remember, she is Austrian. She is marrying King Louis XIII of France. What do I care about this marriage? The issue is that this Austrian woman from the Habsburg dynasty interestingly grows up in Madrid, Spain. And she grows up with chocolate. He drinks chocolate, drinks. When he marries Louis XIII, he forcibly introduces it to the French court. He says this must be drunk. Everyone should drink it. I love it very much. Suddenly, cocoa explodes in France. The entire aristocracy, all the fashionable people, are starting to drink chocolate and hot chocolate. Interestingly, these nobles have made it a habit to drink chocolate in bed after waking up in the morning. It doesn't keep them awake. Why do they want to drink something that doesn't disturb their sleep? The reason is as follows. At that time, the French people, or rather, the French rulers, were very lazy. They lie down all day, like a koala. If they stay awake for about 10 hours a day, it's enough. They sleep for 14 hours. In the morning, he opens his eyes a little and drinks his coffee in bed. Suddenly, he wakes up. It wants me to get up from there and lie down on the other side, from there to here. It drinks a little cocoa. It takes in enough energy to live and then lies down on the other side. Therefore, cocoa is preferred more than coffee by, lazy rulers, kings, and aristocrats. I mentioned earlier that they drink it in the evenings as well. The reason is that the medical experts of that time believed that coffee takes energy from the body and gives it to the brain. They say that it draws energy from the body, and therefore you might experience some issues in a sexual sense when drinking coffee. But cocoa says otherwise. Cocoa claims it enhances sexuality. That's why they drink cocoa in the evenings as well. They constantly consume cocoa. The only issue is that cocoa is fatty. Because it is fatty, it is very nutritious. They know it can lead to weight gain. That's why they don't eat it in chunks. They usually dilute cocoa with milk or water Until 1820, cocoa was always consumed as a beverage. In 1820, the Dutchman Van Houten said, "If I can somehow separate the fat from this cocoa, I will make it into very thin tablets." And chocolate emerges. In fact, milk chocolate is introduced. The Swiss invent milk chocolate. There is an irony in this event. The countries that later embraced chocolate and cocoa are Protestant. Thus, we now know how cocoa and chocolate spread around the world and how they impacted global trade. Next up is tobacco.